Reading is not something that I naturally enjoy. In fact, for years I've kind of bucked against this idea that I need to read. And whenever people ask me why, I just tell them I don't like to read. I'm not good at it. Well, I had a good friend of mine recently who was having a conversation with me about what I was reading recently, and I made this comment, I just really don't like to read. And he said, you've got to stop. You've got to stop telling yourself that story. He said, as long as you tell yourself you don't like to read, you're never going to read. And I kind of hem-hawed about it. I said, whatever. But as I got home that evening and got to thinking about it, he was right. We become what we tell ourselves. And if we tell ourselves that we are not going to do something or that we're not good at something, that's just naturally going to come to fruition. And if we're going to be people who renew our minds and do things differently and who change and grow and become better, we can't get caught up in this thought of telling ourselves the wrong stories or telling ourselves negative stories. In fact, the scriptures encourage us to actively pursue a different kind of lifestyle and a different kind of mind. Paul would say in Philippians chapter 4, finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, pure, lovely, commendable, if there's any excellence, if there's anything worthy of praise, think about these things. So Paul does two things here. One, he tells us, here's the kind of things you ought to think about. Things that are true. Things that are honorable. Things that are just and pure. We know what those things look like. And I think the Word of God does a really good job of outlining for us what those things are. But notice how he finishes this. He says, here's what you need to think about. And so go think about these things. Now that doesn't sound incredibly profound, but what he's saying is you have a choice. You have a choice what goes into your mind. You have a choice what you think about. Paul would write to the Corinthians and say, you got to take every thought captive for the glory of God and for the sake of your faith. And so I just want to encourage you to think about what you're thinking about. We often get caught up in stinking thinking, as Zig Ziglar would say, and we just tell ourselves these stories, and what ends up happening is our lives follow the stories that we tell ourselves. And so I want to encourage you today, think about the story that you're telling yourself. If you're telling yourself you can't, you're probably right. But if you tell yourself you can be right about that as well. We need to change the way we think by pursuing different thoughts. Whatever is good, just, honorable, worthy of praise, worthy of thinking about, go seek those things out. Put those things in your mind. Think on these things.